Don't wanna test your luck with me. I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots.
You are not as tough as
So welcome to the 6th edition of Introducing, and today we'll be introducing a team that I'm sure many of you are pretty familiar with, and that is OpTic Gaming, who of course finished as the runner-up in the NA playoffs, not the winner, as I'm sure many of us expected. And of course we expected that because in Masters 1 at Reykjavik, they obviously were the champions and are the defending champions coming in to Copenhagen. And so obviously the expectation for this team is that they are a favorite to win the tournament again, obviously the defending champions, but they have come up with a bit of a problem in that because they didn't win as the champions of the NA playoffs, that means that they do have to go into the group stage, which, you know, will make it obviously a bit tougher for them overall. They'll have to play some more games, but then again, they did win Reykjavik coming from the group stage as well. OpTic's style in general, what I would say is an execute and fake style. What I mean by that is that they are very good at kind of these burst, full, you know, site executes, these big kind of grand plans that they come up with. They're very good at that, but then they're also very good at using them to then create diversions and fakes, particularly if you watch their Fracture, you know, when they were really popping off on Fracture and Reykjavik or whatnot, it would often look like, you know, the same execute over and over again, but a bunch of different things that were actually going on depending on the round. Very, very interesting style, and when it's working, it works very, very well indeed. But they are also, as I put at the bottom there, in a high-pressure group stage, because unfortunately for OpTic, Crew beat NIP, and that meant that Loud went into the group stage as well, who obviously were the runners-up, and they have got Loud in their group. Now, they're not facing them directly. They will play Guild first, but, you know, Loud are a team that could definitely beat them, and that means that if they do face Loud, you know, after they beat Guild or whatever, that means that they could just be, you know, one bad game from being eliminated from the tournament without even getting to the playoffs. And I think that is a distinct possibility, not likely to happen, but something that could happen, and obviously that would be a big shock, and it would be a big surprise, but because they have drawn Loud in their group, and because they are in the group stages themselves, that is an actual possibility. When it comes to the members of OpTic, I'm sure many of you are already familiar with them, but let's go through them anyway. You've got FNS, who obviously is the IGL, and like a lot of IGLs, will play kind of whatever the team needs. As you can see, quite a few different roles and agents there. Crashies is obviously the main initiator, as you can see. Victor used to kind of be an initiator player, but now is more of a full-time duelist role after Ye moved kind of full-time to Chamber, and you can see Ye is actually the first person we've seen to only play Chamber and only play one agent through the entire qualification process in NA, so that's kind of interesting there. And then Marv obviously is their primary smoke player, and Chet is their coach. When you look at their stats, obviously some things like Ye popping off, I mean, you probably expect that at this point, right? Like, this is nothing new for Ye as well. Marv, it seems, has also, you know, he's putting up pretty good numbers for a controller player here, you know, keeping up what he did at Reykjavik as well, doing very well. And then Victor, I mean, you can see very high ACS, but actually, you know, he's definitely creating space, is what you could say. He's definitely getting into the action. It isn't always going his way, but he's definitely getting there. And then Crashes and FNS, about maybe where you would expect, considering FNS obviously IGLing, and Crashes being the primary initiator. So yeah, kind of, you know, similar to probably what you would expect for OpTic overall. When it comes to reviewing OpTic, one of the things that I think they are best at, as I kind of mentioned in the kind of style that they play in, is some of their executes. They can be very, very strong indeed, and here's an example, round 9 in the grand final against XSET. And what we've had here, as you can see, we're already kind of 40 seconds into the round, is this Sage Wall has been put up, right, and Ye has kind of been staying here the whole time. He has his Chamber Trap here, and what they're going to do off the information is they're going to wait for this Sage Wall and then start their execute, okay? They're going to make sure, try and get Ye to clear this space as they go for this execute, and it's going to work really, really well for them. And what they've done basically is they pushed Crashies up to here on the KO and just had him kind of stay here and make sure there's no one pushing out through here. And then the other 3 players have kind of been focusing a lot on this and making sure, again, there's no aggression from there. But the plan all along, and you could tell this, was to come back and do this execute. And you'll see that once they get going and they get a good plan and you know, they have tools to work with, it can be very, very scary indeed, because you're going to see like just the timing and everyone knowing exactly what they're doing. So they're going to wait for that wall to break. So the wall just broke here in a main, and that is their signal. And it's like, okay, everyone ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go, right? And so they are going to start to go. They're going to destroy the chamber trap, and then it's going to go, right? So destroy chamber trap, in goes breach ult, in goes KO all at the same time. Smokes come down. Cryo is absolutely screwed. In comes Neon Stone, right? They get in onto the site. They get the first kill. Really, really nice to start off with. And they get that first kill, and then the Brimble actually comes out from XSET there to try and stop them, but it's too late. They're already in onto the site. They get the breach done down here. They drop in. FNS is going to get the spike down, and now they just have a lot of control, right? They have all of dish control. They have all of A main control. This is a very difficult retake now for XSET, and this plan, you know, everything pretty much worked for this plan. You see XSET even use their own breach ult. We get a really nice response from the Brim ult from Marved. FNS then gets a kill on Zek, and you see they have just different angles to come from because they have so much control. They mop up XSET here on the retake, and it was just a really well thought out, well planned round, and then the burst execute was very well executed indeed. But another thing that OpTic have as well is their discipline, and we'll see it in this round, right? Because they expect that something is up as well, because they KO knife this early and it doesn't see anyone, but they still flash this, right? They still use the rest of the utility, even though this KO knife didn't see anyone, because they expect that something might be up. And what we're gonna see is a really nice flash. A Victor comes sliding in just here, and he's gonna get 2 kills for free to start. But I love what happens next, because Victor, as you can see, puts the wall up, and he thinks about, let's go, we got 2 kills, let's go, right? A must be pretty clear. But they have the discipline and the knowledge to know, wait a minute, we're in a 5v3. There's no need to take a risk. Let's just stick together. XSET will probably come pushing or something, right? They'll try and make a reaction, try and make a play to even up the numbers. And so they don't. And you see that they group up instead of going forward. Had they gone forward, it would have potentially been pretty bad. Aaron might have found kills. Same thing happens here, right? Marv waits for the push. He gets a kill on Cryo, and he runs away, right? He's not waiting to see what else happens. Grouping up as a team, Aaron now tries to make a play as well. Victor manages to get that kill, and all of a sudden, we're in a 5v1, right? That discipline really did win them this round, because it could have potentially gone pretty bad if they all 3 of them just ran with the neon wall. You know, that's where you start to get those couple kills, but now in a 5v1, it's pretty much unlosable. You can do kind of what you want. Well, eventually they are going to manage to kill BCJ here. But yeah, that discipline can come in clutch and in moments like that. I think this is a big reason why OpTic improved and you know, got a lot better, because they had that discipline, and those kind of rounds that they win carried them a long way. And of course, one major X factor that OpTic have in their favor is they have Yay. And Yay go kill is a very viable strategy in a lot of rounds. So you see in this round, they come in with the Sova ult and all that. XSET come in, they execute onto the site. They got the KO ult going as well, and so OpTic decide to play retake. But of course, we have Yay here on OpTic, and so that is just a massive boom, because as the Omen, when they're planting the spike, comes back to TP so that they can get this like nice crossfire setup on Yay, potentially, you think he might be in a lot of trouble. He's just very aware of what is going on. I'm not sure that he heard that Omen, but he's just very aware that that is probably the likely outcome of where the Omen is TP'd. He isolates him, gets that kill, comes around, he's going to isolate this Sova and get that kill as well. And now all of a sudden you're in a 5v3, right? And all of this was just based off Yay. Yay did that all on his own, no help needed, and that happens, you know, in quite a few rounds, as I'm sure many of you are aware. And he's going to actually mop up even more here and manage to get a 4K, wins another duel, and then Crashies finishes it off. Yeah, sometimes Yay will just win a round as well. And now let's come to round 12, defending on Ascent, because another thing that OpTic are great at is sometimes just absolutely bombarding you with utility and making it almost impossible for you, as you will see in this round from XSET, because XSET are going to try and execute in towards this B site, but just look at the sheer amount of utility and how good it all is as well. So that Sova dart comes in from XSET about 40 seconds, right? And so that's kind of when the execute starts. But I just want you to watch how how much trouble XZ have here as the Prowler comes in from FNS, and then he's going to throw this Fade Horn, and the Silver Dart goes off there that we just saw from Crashies. But XZ have got a Killjoy lockdown, but I just want you to see, like, it doesn't make a difference. And they send in a Silver. First of all, look at this, right? Look at how revealed they actually are here. FNS manages to get a kill off the back of that to start off with. Ye manages to get a kill. You can see that both the Silver and Fade get an assist, so that's someone that's been revealed, and he's just spamming through the smoke here back from CT, so he just found a kill here from those reveals as well. Really, really nice. And then XZ, this Killjoy lockdown is still going on. FNS tries to just make a play because he can't really get out of it, right? He's kind of in the middle of it, so he decides, okay, I'll try and push through the smoke and see if I can get a kill. Unfortunately, he can't, but still we've got more delay coming in at them, right? Because you've got this Astrosuck here on the ground, and so this Killjoy lockdown starts to run out. The whole lockdown goes off. No one gets detained, and they still don't even drop in onto site. That's how well OpTic managed to delay. Ye just wins a gunfight with Zekken here back towards B main, but Crashies does lose that fight to Cryo, and so we end up in this 3v2. But we're not stopped here, right? Because out comes the KO ult as well. He's going to throw his fragment grenade that's going to land perfectly as well, and BCJ can't take the hit, so he has to wait. Ye comes in, and this is what I mean, right? They didn't give you any space to breathe here, right? The time is now ticking down. This execute started with 40 seconds left, but they're going to struggle to get the spike down, right? Really, really nice overall coming out from OpTic, and you see as the spike just goes down with a second to spare, Victor then just comes in and kills BCJ. Really, really nice round, and you just see sometimes they will just bombard you if they have that utility, and it is very hard to beat. However, there were some bad rounds in there from OpTic, particularly in the grand final as well, and this I think was perhaps one of the worst. It's round 12 of Haven here, where OpTic are on the defensive side, and well, just take a look, right? Because we're going to start off actually with Ye managing to get the first kill. It's going to be a weird round, don't get me wrong, but you're going to see it's not great how it ends. But then Ye gets perhaps a bit overeager, and he ends up peeking into two players there and losing that fight. So we end up in this 4v4. But because it is round 12, of course, you know, everyone's going to pop their ults and whatever, so we have popped the KO ult here for OpTic, and it's going to be kind of weird because what they decide to do is they kind of fake tap the spike on B. They obviously see each other there going towards a link, so OpTic kind of think, oh, it must be like a kind of, you know, aggressive A play that's probably still on B, but actually BCJ here has walked all the way through C, so XZ decide, okay, well then we'll walk back through C because we know that that is all safe, right? And we're in, you know, we know that no one's there, so they decide to do that, right? But then Margd is going to get the one kill here, but then he doesn't quite know where they're coming from, so he gets a 1-for-1 trade. But okay, they know where they are, they're in position for a fast retake, 3v3, very winnable, right? And what I want to point out here is the utility they have available to them, right? You have a Skydog and one Skyflash. Very useful for a retake. You have the Neon Wall, you have a stun as well from the Neon, and you have a fragment grenade. You're going to get 2 flashes from the KO, and the knife is about to come back as well. That is a lot of utility to use for this retake. There is a lot of things that they could do potentially here, but you're going to see what do they decide to do. Well, we've got a one-way here on the KO. FNS is about to throw his knife in here. And it seems like they're coming up with a plan, but actually you might see that both Crashies and Victor just go walking out, right? So in comes the knife right here, and what happens is Victor just slides out, right, with no extra utility and dies. Crashies just walks up for the trade, but Cryo's able to kill him. They didn't use any of that utility, and I still don't know really why they didn't, and they leave FNS in a very bad scenario, who's tried to use a flash for himself, but hasn't been able to get through too far, and Cryo ends up winning the round for them as well. And there was quite a few of these kind of like weird decisions where sometimes they wouldn't use utility, especially after just watching that that round on Ascent, where, you know, when they do use it, it's always fantastic, and they win a lot of rounds off the back of it. This was kind of a bit of a worrying round. And now let's quickly come to their map pool, which obviously, again, looks pretty good on the whole. There are some holes in it overall, and I am a bit concerned about parts of their map pool. Let's start with Ascent, where I think the numbers don't lie. You know, overall, they're pretty good on Ascent. Their attack is pretty bad, and their defense is very good, right? They play, obviously, the triple initiator comp, but in particular, their attack rounds on that map are quite bad a lot of the time. They don't seem to really play to the comp's strengths on attack that much. They seem to really struggle with how to, you know, work the map with that comp, particularly when, you know, when I watch the RX play with that comp, it seems like they have a complete mastery of what they know what they're doing. When I watch OpTic play with that comp, it feels like they have a couple ideas and that's kind of it. And then when we come to Bind as well, you know, a map which was probably at one point their best map, obviously they played that weird comp in the grand final as well with the Neon and the Breach, and it didn't really work. So again, they might need to change that. You can see that again, they're struggling on their attack side. The defense side is fine, but again, on the attack side, they're really quite struggling. Breeze used to be their permaban, but all of a sudden they're just good on Breeze, so that's a plus point, I guess. And Fracture, they're still very good on Fracture, particularly on the defensive side, as you can see. Haven as well, though, I think, again, the grand final kind of showed us the defense side on Haven needs some work. That honestly could have been a 13-0, a 13-1 on Haven, to be honest. Some of the rounds that OpTic won in that game were, you know, 1v1 clutches. There was a 1v2 clutch from Ye. Like, you know, they weren't repeatable success rounds at all. It could have honestly been a 13-0. They probably need to work on the defensive side for Haven as well. Their icebox, you know, has never probably been convincing. It's probably always been towards the bottom of their map pool anyway. And actually, they've been banning it more recently as well. So they probably won't play too much icebox, I don't think. And then Split, they are still winning. I mean, like a lot of teams, they do struggle on the attack side, but their defensive side is pretty good. And now let's come to their agents. So you can see that they definitely do have some favorites overall because there's quite a bit of purple and red on this list. So you can see that they definitely do prefer some agents. And one of them, as you can see, is Astra over Omen. And it's actually, you know, a bit of a theme that quite a few different teams have preferred Astra over Omen overall. Quite an interesting thing. Maybe Astra is more strong than perhaps a lot of people realize and is a good pick overall. Brim, they play, you know, a kind of normal amount of time on Fracture and Binder. They just play those maps a bit, particularly Fracture. And as you can see, Omen, obviously, they don't pick too much. Viper, they don't pick too much either. They aren't really picking Viper too much on the other maps, you know, the non-essential Viper maps, and they don't play too much Icebox and Breeze either, so that is why Viper's pick rate is perhaps a bit lower. Obviously, they did pick Yoru a couple times, so he does make it onto the list, and they never pick Cypher. We actually have the first ever 100% of the teams that we've looked at so far. Ye, as I said, always picks Chamber, right? So this is kind of a first for a team that Ye is always picking Chamber, no matter the map, no matter the circumstance, 100%, which is the first one we've seen so far, and that obviously means 0% for Killjoy as well. And Sage also not picked too much either. This was just one map on Icebox for Sage. Jet, you can see that they're not in on Jet, only picking Jet really on Breeze. We obviously saw Victor play that as well, but as we all know, Victor loves a bit of Neon, and you can see that in this pick right here, and that is in lieu of Raze, which again is a big kind of difference from other teams, right? A lot of teams who we've seen so far have been heavy in on Raze, but actually OpTic here, you know, with Victor being so good on Neon, they prefer to play a lot of that. When it comes to the initiators, you can see they definitely are into the double initiator meta, playing a decent amount of Breach and Fade. They love KO. Actually, 4 of the 5 players on the team played KO at different points, so they're a big fan of KO. Obviously, fits into that kind of burst execute style very well. And then Sky, they're in on as well, and not as much Sova as the average, as you can see. When it comes to their pistol and eco rounds, they're doing like okay, I would say overall, right? 52% on their pistols overall. You know, they win eco rounds a decent amount of times, nothing special, 35%. And against ecos and semi-ecos as well, you know, they win, again, a pretty good amount of those rounds as well. So what you would probably expect as kind of the bare minimum for a team that's making it to Copenhagen, obviously you expect these numbers to be pretty high because you're looking at the best teams from each region. So yeah, about average, I would say. They aren't too special at any of these. And so that was the introduction of OpTic. I'm sure most of you are already pretty familiar with these players and this team, but there are things to be learned for sure, and we'll have to see, you know, how will they do when it comes to actually defending their title.